Dear Connecticut News and Schools and Wethersfield, Interbranch. For example, Millwoods Park, there was a golf ball placed with spit on it. Excuse me. This is tied to a organized crime method that has this is tied to also people involved with spit, for example, tied to this recorded confessed with military, police, foreign, and domestic on off Trinity College, tied to directly and indirectly criminal uses of Mike Violet, a Mark Violet, and neighbors of theirs I don't know the names of were involved with them. A whole bunch of people involved with them with interstates, racketeering, and worse, and with military, foreign, and domestic again. And see, they don't know the extent of it because this is racketeering. Everyone's speaking through others criminally. Criminal use is how they keep each age of fact sheet in nature of boys and girls approaching each other per the criminal uses of the identity of the grounds, value, and value relationship to our active value treatments. And it is more complicated than that, also, which is it's not that it's also sequence true and progression's value, and another nature of two natures of semi-nature at once, and the semi-nature of itself and demonstration of itself with a relationship to that, which is that and distinctly and non-distinctly as it is the other two semi-natures discernible as semi-nature discernible, and then distinctly and non-distinctly two natures of semi-nature, and that is simultaneously where and as and how it's in demonstration of its complete nature's complete identity of relationship to itself as the volume that only fills. That is our value. That is why really what is native, like the needs for water, the needs for the tactically denatured relationship to nature, self-value, to be countered because of its roles with life progressions in racketeering method using human fact cheaping nature. Now it is using geographical impositions, and for example, it is using originally and still evidence reception predators because as victims though. See, everyone's preventing free speech because their roles with this, with the branches individually grouped and together originally and still, recorded how maintained criminally foreign influence through what had the branches originally and still sophistication contained. So they had, criminally foreign influence stakes and areas. So they had live progressions. Only they had all formal positions within as the standing relationships to the republic's value system, which is the campus marcia systems. Medical. So these is ancient times. See, but we have evidence of reception. We have we have scientific consensus originally still here, there, sickly distinctly, and effectively having kept how sickly not distinctly from being discerned, therefore from being countered. And where counters to this is counters to what's impositions upon the identity of value we share and are as actually. So you see everyone on YouTube telling people to and trying to give people value. But see now this is what and the harder they do that as an abridged fact treatment nature, this is value's course. Why we discern value as its word. Each letter of the English language is an individual nature of volume, just like an individual is, because it's a complete identity. And only a complete identity can make more and be more of a complete identity. But we it can't be us as its complete identity. So we are simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship with what? Grouped areas, sexes, ages, in what? In this one identity's identity of relationship to itself has value as the nature of volume that's filling, using it, making more of itself through us. Yin yang won't separate. We are exception nature. Where we are exception nature, it's in demonstration. We're just more yin yang. Where the individual's value is simultaneous. This is the difference between not just temporary positive like criminal insidiousness nature is scientific proof that temporary positive it can have and be a theater, could be a science, be a whole bunch of connected sciences ill. We have a fact-cheaping nature illness maintained by a racketeering method that originated in semi-ancient times. This just reminds. This built all kinds of real motivations, truths used as lies, per what juxtaposed all to roll with this. Even Native Americans, nations A through Z, tribes A through Z, individual Native Americans A through Z, individual nations A through Z before that took their education, which is most scientifically it's told them anyway. If you follow law, actually, you want to care for yourselves because you are only value if you're native, the part of us that's native, even if we're not physically native. Why we long water is native. Why the nature longs an identity of relationship to itself. That's going to be evolution. Science, the garden is a scientific value. The perfect world is a scientific value. See, we have a different nature of racketeering associated. How many of you guys know? With paraphrasing, former director of the FBI, former no. How many of you have seen a former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act on organized crime, which this involves use of color and uses of not since before our nation's founding, no one allowed to speak about recorded overt and simultaneously juxtaposed all kinds of forsaken being exploited and that being blamed on other things, others themselves. And that's already self-valued for a whole bunch of juxtaposed motivation. Everyone's a victim. Everyone's a victim predator. States and areas are forcing leaders to stay knave roles. It is recorded that and how the, presidents are not let free speech. It is recorded that and how we're supposed to understand per actual science, like not prejudice, but when there are fact treatment nature styles that entertain, for example, the theater of Jim Crow, for the phrase of it, the theater of it, that the premise treatments involved with it. See, there's a difference between a premise and a reason principle. See, but they have to say that this is an organized crime racketeering method role that kept and keeps criminally foreign influence states and areas that needs them to say premise. Because if they say reason principle, and they have to keep the identity of the sciences share not only equally, but equally differentially in relationship to a system that's other, it's complete. And these are not complete. And that's the difference between the one complete identity of value progression and what's gonna reveal evolution's fruits and gifts in relationship to its identity of relationship to itself, or is it going to lose them? Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space. The value of that's positive, always also positive unto itself more and more. That which causes evolution's fruits and gifts, for example, in demonstration of it. But evolution is not a name. Charles Darwin. This is a this is they're cultivating physical delusions, and this is in conjunction with people involved with originally and still that recorded racketeering method sickly distinctly against each age of fact achieving nature, not just formally. That was specifically to have all formal roles juxtaposed to real sick needs to hide lie progression styles liars real, but not really why progressively on they have to hide lie progressions actually roles with the same people they're putting in jail, self-valuing that and how they were involved with all the victims, hurting those victims with those same criminals and patients before they did their crimes. This is tied to everyone speaking through others. Not just I'm not just saying this as a theory. This is a method maintaining this. This is recorded, actually recorded. There's also a method where they say things and then they say the opposite into the records too. So they can go back because they're also using time criminally always too fast, too slow. These are already Justice Department records of and as the value of each modern nation long criminally against everyone where it comes to not a whole bunch of things, but to discern it, you have to be able to use what's true always, not denying any exceptions. We have the Forsaken that were never had freedom and they were told to pretend it. They were told to compare themselves. Then while at the same time, those same misprision are saying, oh, but our allies, we are a species nature of volume that has the same fact cheaping nature racketeering illness needed countering, not by accident. Everyone already only capable of fathoming, blaming, and having been blamed the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on other things other than themselves. Look at that people stacking in New York City. Don't pull out one guy from it. Thank God, Jay-Z got out of it. Beyonce. But in other words, all we have to do is admit what's forsaken as forsaken, individually grouped and together. Because together, then still, that they have a connection individually together and group, not for whose behavior is well like that. That wants that. It's about what's true always and not denying any exceptions. We have people pretending people, a lot of people, because the way they're using, we're not allowed to talk about this because what they're doing is online. They're making people spread rumors about people, and these are interbranch. They know that they already have been originally and still using their courts criminally, using every single position individually grouped it together, every difference associated with them and their family members criminally as victims, but as victim predators. Forgiveness is so people pretending passions, emotions not to believe. It can be demonstrated doing that dishonestly and misprision. And roles with vertical and horizontal database racketeering tied to that. In the past, they used Millwoods Park with people involved on off Trinity College, involved with the racketeering with WFSB, with Fox Connecticut News, and with WTNH on off their locations, also with other agencies, foreign and domestic and military, foreign and domestic, fire departments, people associated with the highways, working on them. Each department of each campus throughout the world. The same way the cells of our body share this identity of value progression. Everything is in demonstration of the complete identity of value progression. This is identity's course, not just where and has and how we are temporary positive as a complete identity of volume, of a complete identity of forever nature, making more of its body of value as identity that is positive or negative onto itself. Perfect perfection, perfect memory. There are proofs that we are already its perfect memory. And we only have semi memory because we are in our body. We are a quality of diffusion. Now, this is not saying we're ghosts. This is saying the identity nature is a nature of volume. That is value as forever nature. And only the extent of it is debatable. See, but it's being debated offensively. And it's reliant upon what originally and still is recorded since semi-ancient times, precedents and scientific consensus, criminally foreign influence, justifications of it, therefore, invested as styles of liars in relationship to what is practical evidence reception and or regarding the evaluation of that. And so we also need another nature of statutes, like for the same reason we need habeas corpus, so inside and outside of courts, and see, but we have to also demonstrate that there was a recorded since founding individual grouped, not just hold police departments through time, all victims the same way overt criminal enterprises are involved and actually recorded needing to hide the same racketeering influenced sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity theft lies, and then further, because that's an identity again. These are all identities like online platforms. They don't have the time to go into specifics, so they're taking sides with people in the background that are experts being invested, therefore defending their identities that are involved with racketeering. Now, this is how the online platforms are involved with identity theft, frauds, and a whole bunch of racketeering with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering and motivations actual tied to the ones that are all juxtaposed because we have interbranch individually grouped and together they're criminally having been acting, and this is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrating pretending other into records by just saying that not out of sequence. Now, these are people involved with sequence racketeering that is recorded, tied to already proven sequence shifts from insides of courts and sequence racketeering originally and still, when you think about it. And in other words, if you have actually proper science about evidence reception, and this also involves how they have insulated the simple proofs we need. Like I can't even find the book again. If you know if you it should be everywhere about what James Madison did with his plan. to preempt what wouldn't let anyone have free speech, and not so, and also had everyone speaking speech other, investing everyone. That's how it could see no unity can be formed of anything anywhere near to counter all that sick here and there and everywhere at once, far short of being anything but discerned by the racketeering method, the human fact cheating nature breaching racketeering method role that put color in there to keep perpetually our human fact cheating nature illness, self value. As victim predators of a child abuse that is simultaneously an elderly abuse that is simultaneously against each age sickly. It was is look at the pathology of homes throughout the world. They are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. You know, confessed in relationship to people pretending other. They don't pretend they don't realize. If you really listen to what they say, individually grouped and together, they realize. And or they have physical delusions and criminally foreign influence, they're victim predators also at the same time in relationship to all the premises associated with each reason principle, all connected. So there are cells of the body. For example, I'm not a doctor. Since founding, the value of doctor, the word slash value of doctor, and for example, a doctor of American history. The people who know the most about American history originally and still, they were using that to keep forced glorified and exploited forced glorified, pseudo cared for our founding fathers' language that was forced, pretended, things that were forced entertained by them that they did not want us to have still entertained, which is actually recorded. Again, this is tied to how they have this layered, where they have actually recorded that and how James Madison was aware. Everyone was aware that everyone was afraid of free speech in layers, far short of being able to have integrity. And everyone's supposed to pretend integrity. And this is a racketeering method using human fact sheeting nature. That's most scientific, most plausible. What else would motivate that sick, those sick things? These are intercultural, they took over internation sciences in semi ancient times with a method that knew even kings, even the phenomenon of a pharaoh, no one would be able to counter how our nature works actually. Nature being identity's nature of relationship to itself, a trinity. That we're both positive or negative is positive onto its value progression. But it's further than that. That's the trinity alone. To really understand it, it's the trinity, and it's what simultaneous that with as what generates from nowhere evolution's fruits and gifts, and or what generates what forces lethal IDs as our value, as Earth's know. So too long, this little species has been that value. It's even manifest with us needing to go to space, needing to see difference of nations because they have these are victims of an identity racketeering method. See, that's also with the simple to discern. The second someone opens their mouth, entertaining something like overt, like color with the law's actual wordings and things like that, and justifications with them. Now they need to use time always too fast, too slow. No, and the people hurt that come into it, black and white, into what they call, not just call, but I mean, so everything they call is changed. But we don't have free speech too. But I'm saying, in other words, they pretend we have branches of government that will still pretend people have free speech just because they make sound. And meanwhile, they're just faking recorded things into databases, attaching people to fake locations. They already did that. Then they need to make opinions on things. They can't show their actual nature. They need to hurt each age of fact cheating nature has made to only be able to, the same way they avert criminal enterprises, they grow up. Their campuses are in collusion with what really furthers these overt criminal enterprises because their value to the fact cheating nature racketeering roles. Again, with what juxtapose everyone is, this is built to only be capable of lipoaggressions. Only be able to know, oh, this is business. A business is an identity of value, like an organ, onto actual physical people's health and needs. But it's still in a system that in other words, it's all right. You want to just put as your reason principle, as your complete identity. You want to put all the other ones, like, in other words, go for money. Fuck it. The Constitution's abridged. It's who you know. It's not what you know. Free speech. Since before the Trade Center attack, these are people involved with racketeering since they were kids. Since before our founders' births, already was internation, individually grouped and together, identities in an identity racketeering method. Wasn't just England. They say, "Oh, England colonized here." That's another example of what they put forward in the libraries. Distinctly and non-distinctly, all natures of libraries, criminally foreign influenced breaching tools involved with the racketeering then method that keeps recorded confessed. No, this is tied. When I'm talking about the past, I'm talking about people associated with a Joshua Stryker and Eric Oliveri, uses of UPS by Trinity College, involved also with these people with the spit next to Trinity College and with a college view, and with a whole bunch of state police and their family members through time, men and women. And now these are people involved with, again, with what is actually recorded, which is all that actually too, all that forsaking with other claims, and how that is exploited. Now they know this is actually recorded. And they're exploiting the identity of the relation. Like, we don't have any place to gather. For example, and if we try to have communications about this, our interbranch is already criminally foreign influenced originally and still all private tied to them. They're also all intermilitary, criminally foreign influenced, and all private tied to them. And all the policing shared the same way here and there. And all overt criminal enterprises. And that all self-valued, what really furthers them, the identity of negative value nature progression roles and exploitations of that, which are really tied to the identity of the ground native, tactically denatured theater, and or overtly denatured tactically theater. And so an identity of relationship to the quality of fact treatment nature that is incapable of doing anything but demonstrated negative value nature progressions as our identity of relationship to the identity of value progression that causes positive or negative value nature progressions, and demonstration of what is the evolution of the value of science or it's criminal foreign influences. As long as we keep it from criminal foreign influences, we know it's going to reveal evolution's fruits and gifts. We know it's going to reveal means that individually grouped and together we could never afford any other way. Himini pray. And if we did try to afford it and we weren't doing it, we weren't really doing it all together, which means it's for the individual first. See, they want to keep, they have the value of fake morality, of fake ethics, already self-valued, racketeering roles, uses of it. Now, this is critical to wear the suit and tie, is how, for example, self-valued roles, child abused, distinctly and non-distinctly, the judicial branches of nations, the executive branches of nations, and the political bodies of nations, things like democracy. Oh, that's value. That's what I stand for. You have to stand for a partial thing. They say, but we offensively pretend this, then we can pretend not to realize that such is perfectly. We're in collusion. What is preventing the abridged constitution from being liberated? We're pretending the whole time. We're breaching screens. One way redeems. How long are we going to watch people with water on their head? And then we have machines. One way redeems. How long we're going to play the game with, oh, this is the identity of our nation, like in Africa. We're an identity as a species, nature, of volume. And what's in the way of that is hurting us all. Well, so please help someone. Respond for my nation. Coward breach. They think what is bravery is bang with the gavel, or whatever, gentle and push people to jail criminally. Pretend other. Oh, Sue, you can't get that time back. Forever nature. Therefore, these are other natures of all natures of abuses of each age of fact treating nature. With all private, we have a whole bunch. We have Russians involved with psychology here and there, where they have racketeering methods against our people here and there. Humanity, our species, nature, of volume. Now, this is with the Justice Department here, their Justice Department there, with the fake difference. This is about with a whole bunch of people associated with a whole bunch of nations involved with overt criminal enterprises, through time also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with people associated with this Joshua Stryker and his roles with Dean Alford and or a guy who pretended to be him, that are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with a whole bunch of people tied to. And so as the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in his federal criminal, his defendant capacities, and leading up to that case in 2006 with his lawyer, Robert Cheverie, and also on and off Farmington Avenue through Time Streets perpendicular to that and stuff like that, involved with this criminally, with the FBI, with other CIA families involved, racketeering with the Trade Center, that are also involved with it, leading up to that criminally in the context of the Ninth Circuit, post-dated documents, who are also involved with WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, and WTNH, with the racketeering people associated with the ball with the spit on it in Millwoods Park, that are connected with racketeering on and off Trinity College, with foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises, military, police, especially regarding that, and their criminal roles with election spots. There's a guy. They're a woman and her daughter implied involved with a guy who looks, I believe it's a Parker English, associated with one of the people with CCSU, also involved with racketeering with the Justice Department, for example, interstates, but also distinctly and non-distinctly how it's New York City, New Britain, interstates, intercities of Connecticut with the interbranch and on off their state judicial branch office, on off the state prison offices, as the cliques and families in name stacking racketeering roles against people, also along all the routes, like into the heart of Hartford, from Wethersfield right through Newington into New Britain. All interbranch identities involved with the racketeering originally and still all private. So what are they going to pretend? They're going to pretend things like money mean what they don't, and that's where and has and how. That's what the subject of American history is about. How that value, those value nature systems are tactically ulterior from what is value nature system actual course and way of things, things. So I'm not even a lawyer, but it's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they have physical delusions and criminal foreign influences with each of the sciences. I'm not a doctor, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they've been forging names, switching names, their motivations to it. They don't really, everyone speak through other, they know that's criminally. They're speaking things, they say things into records so they can pretend that means what it doesn't. We have evidence reception and perception racketeering rules and methods with time used always too fast, too slow, criminally, as their roles also simultaneously with past and active racketeering uses of AT&T, of wire crime, whole wire crime methods, mail crime methods associated with the people with the news, also racketeering with the locations next to their news. Whole bunch of people with, for example, involved with Social Security racketeering, with a Leahy family and with the Yagman family, two Mendez police. They're also involved with crimes with child offenders. And I don't know what you can't go by their news because they lie about everything. But they're also involved with racing places with that Yagman family. And then they have the victims of those things involved with the people that were involved criminally with those people in the first place, like the Leahy family, and involved with the houses around there, that's right around the corner from the Samuel Dix house, the Yagman house, and other houses on that street recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles with the FBI, with the CIA, with vertical and horizontal database racketeering that they also exploit. In other words, horizontal with life progressions from that, where they acted in the past with people now tied to this Joshua Julian, Joshua Stryker, and uses of Facebook to hide their racketeering uses of Trinity College, of CCSU with other nations, a whole bunch of other nations, criminally from off the campuses. Now, so they're using the identity of the campuses. This also recorded, especially if he made up his death. Hugh Ogden is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, especially if he didn't. Used by people, everyone speaking to other. He's involved with some sex offenders' families. He doesn't realize it. I'm not saying he knows that. No, in other words, everyone speaking through others is being used criminally. He attached me to fit. He's involved with also. That's also recorded, tied to the pattern of racketeering where they try to pretend things real fast and then lock it in, which shows them actually recorded. They're actually recorded natures in other contexts, because these are a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures of racketeering and preventing mandated law, lying about me from backgrounds with strangers, stacking their family members, therefore, with them with roles, with me needing to get through all that to get a response. Because when you go in the courtrooms, they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with the people that they're pretending to counter. In other cases, they're already involved with criminal uses of campuses of each age of fact-achieving nature. They've been using, these are the intercities connected. They have the standing what originally and still. When they talk about the same with a, oh, that's prejudice because everyone's exhausted and doesn't know how to counter what the evil is here. It's not prejudice, it's racketeering, and it's a recorded racketeering method, and it's completely fact cheating nature oriented. It's completely sequence racketeering oriented. It's the value of progressions value oriented, and it's multi-front identity the ground self-value roles with and as the real causes of negative value nature progressions action natures as styles of fact cheating nature pretending other, not by accident. Can't legalize criminal insidiousness nature. The truth is made pure. I know for sure. That's why Native Americans, it's not money. You individually grouped together, have all the money in the world. No one ever encountered the recorded and involved with the fact cheating nature slavery of our founders. This built demonstrably to cause negative value nature progressions, action natures. They invested everyone only capable of blaming on other things other than self, because that was already exploited methodically with as a database organized crime racketeering method, again using human fact cheating nature since before our founders' births, using people with that theater, fake positive, not legitimately. Oh, but that's we're all together, so we just do it. It's not for all together free speech. We do not have free speech, and they're pretending that we have to sue for free speech. But that's because simultaneously they're involved with all the various natures of racketeering that they're actually recorded involved with, and that's name stacking. And they use here and there, they use the crime method of pretending people are with conspiracy theories. So now they're preventing, since I was a kid, anything in response. They have the racketeering methods of the courts involved with the child sex offenders, attaching little kids and adults to fake locations, fake words. These are also trade center racketeering roles with WFSB, WTNH. I don't know all the names of the people from my town who went to Trinity College that pretended other behind my back. But that was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also tied to racketeering uses of where I want to call a platform. I want to because it's the identity of the ground is native. I want to call it a substrate of DACA was used for the racketeering, but the method that uses everything else. For example, that keeps nations individually grouped and together, identities of the law, and an identity of negative value nature progression as criminal insidiousness, say criminal insidiousness self-value. It's all right to have an online platform and need to have means to settle disputes, but see, they're getting into them criminally. They're hiding all that actually recorded interbranch. Facebook is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with former director of the FBI, CIA, whole bunch of people tied to a Leahy family as doctors of psychology, forging names, switching names, attaching vertical, horizontal database racketeering, attaching me to fake conversations, fake ties to people in databases, attaching with their interbranch drug clicks, attaching me and other kids. When I was a kid and they did it as an adult, they attached me and my family members, they attached little kids to fake locations with child sex offenders' families, further involved with the racketeering with retired and standing fire inspectors, people who were invested to roles with our side and other sides in the trade center racketeering. What really was all that involved with it. Even if I don't know all of it, I know the people associated with it. like with the Keene family, with the Keene. I didn't even go to it. The Keene Foundation. He poor guy. He was a great guy. He was a very nice guy. Is all I remember. He was like a t-ball coach of mine, something like that. And see, this is in other words, everyone speaks to that's associated also with a Fianza family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. The Morrow family, a Michael Kerr, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that Heather Hansen also was. They said Heather Hansen had intimate ties to them, and he was with her. And there are people with a Department of Motor Vehicles and Department of Transportation with like weird circles, sexual circles, and things like that in the past that also have uses of how people are with the FBI and stuff like that, and they get their neighbors involved with them with identity thefts, identity racketeering. So, and it's all right. These are natures of gun crime rolls. So, in other words, they already invested themselves in the background, pretending they had conversations with me as roles with all that tied to courts attaching little kids to fake locations through time. There's a whole bunch of ties to it. All the people involved with it each year of my life, not people tied to me, people that have walk up to you, make confessions, trick all exceptions. People through time recorded with a Alina's Pizza involved with the child campuses in my town, intercities, intersuburbs, involved racketeering, interbranch, and the prison cliques tied to them and training of them. They train people that are lifted to prisons, not just state police, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved also with the intelligence community, with foreign countries criminally, with uses of CNN and of lawyers, private, where they put fake sides of correlation nature. They put readings of law that leave out exceptions and their roles with racketeering, for example. The racketeering methods and natures recorded into branch individually grouped and together criminally distinctly and non-distinctly. In other words, they have grouped crime methods. We don't have to just deal with how we have criminally foreign influenced police departments as victims, but as victim predators the same way the overt criminal enterprises are recorded too. Kept needing to hide the same finite sequence, shift, active, progressive lies together. Worse, identity racketeering lies together. You know, they they've been they're raised to it the same way by and as the same thing. Not I'm talking about true always, not denying any exceptions. And I'm talking about this in relationship to lethal IDs, not just because we're going to make negative baggage regressions. I'm talking about because of how it's actually recorded, that they recorded themselves actually saying other than they actually say first. So then they're pretending that is recorded reality. And they're hiding this through administrations because they're victim predators of jobs that you can't value the identity of that and do anything but value styles of logic that are breaching screen tools where and as now it counts, where the Constitution is a bridge, sub rosa, and overall, all liars, only let heard, they call debate. Oh, it's argument. Tractatus imperatus. All rise. Tracts. So we need federal stewardships. We need, please, Miss. It would impress the president, Miss. I, I keep thinking Poca. I forgot. Miss Warren. It would impress the president if you claim federal steward needs for federal stewardships of yourselves. Anyone individually grouped it together, especially a woman as a value of a woman and or as a man, interbranch. Individually grouped it together, sickly distinctly, you guys are incapable of doing it right. And this is about Trinity's nature's values course. Again, further, not just as temporary positive, but as its value to the complete nature of relationship to itself. Buck sings to Santa self awake. The people talk the nonsense. Long they sleep. So why do you think you're supposed to understand the Santa Claus all year round? I'll gather round. This is about positive, the identity of positive. This is about one identity that is simultaneously semi-nature as three semi-natures, bonded, and simultaneously distinctly and non-distinctly it is semi-nature as five semi-natures. As the same one, distinctly and non-distinctly, with those semi-natures, coupled with its identity of relationship to itself, makes a little bit more forever nature. Its identity. It makes a little bit more identity's nature or volume. We are this as equality, diffusion, life, as temporary positive, as the value of American history, obligated to discern the difference between temporary positive, that is as criminal insidious as nature, and one that is not. And that which, therefore, if healthy, not abused, is understanding the science of prayer, not in relationship to faith, but in relationship to the nature of science that was criminally foreign influenced since before modern religions. Thank God for them, having found the means to leave in the hands of people that were are still with identity with and as identity the ground, racketeering uses roles, needs, and nature's self-value. So therefore, forced by nature's nature, identity of relationship to itself, as criminal insidious nature. And so this was engineered to be self-value. So all we have to do as a species is admit and understand this and let that lead our guide. And that means understand the identity of the ground is tactically denatured as theater wherever it is most beautiful, even there, even the soil, even the insects. We're in an identity of negative value nature progression, having long been demonstrated, but this is in the racketeering method that made that self-value. All having what nature actually demonstrates, blame the other things other than themselves, like the environment. They're really not about the environment. This is nature's course. If anyone was really value complete, the Constitution. See, no one hears me. Can anyone? And the people see they know that, and the only people they let respond are people pretending the words, and they're pretending people have mental illnesses and things like that. They're preventing the sequence shifts and they're preventing from being countered and mandated law against the interbranch speaking lies into records after they already spoke other into records. After other was already spoken into records for them. They have no integrity, modern nations, not here, not there, no. Now there's a Peruta family that I do know the names of, and I don't know the names of the woman. I don't know if that's one of the ones with a Peruta family associated with the Leahy family, and with various natures of judges involved with racketeering, with child sex offenders, medical offenders, other natures of crimes on off campuses connected, crime methods bonded, roles with retired and standing mayors, roles with other natures of interbranch. Everyone's speaking to other. They're already predators. So they show you, the people on off the state prison cliques, the prison offices, on off the state judicial branch offices, all along those routes are already involved racketeering since they were kids, with houses next to those places, like tied to the fines and next to the state judicial branch offices, tied to a whole bunch of people tied to a Joe DeMauro, with racketeering with foreign and domestic families, with people with the Kerr family, with people along that route that goes by Wethersfield Pizza. You go up next, then you go there. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. A whole bunch of people with CCSU are also involved with racketeering with the policing of the stores. Interstate, like with two Carone brothers, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with them racketeering with the DMV and the of Department of Transportation and with the Department of Motor Vehicles, involved with like racketeering roles with in uses of places along the Berlin Turnpike and people speaking through others. Their criminal uses of immediate and extended family members of the kids of each age of camp. They're using criminally. They're attaching little kids to fake locations through time. They're spreading lies through kids. They're putting real mean and hate and fake, real sick, used fake care through kids in conjunction with men and women on and off the campuses connected with racketeering uses again through time of parks like Mill Woods Park. Involved also as the people involved with election racketeering natures of crimes, uses of the locations next to it, like the churches, places on and off the churches, involved also racketeering with military families, involved with identity racketeering, sequence shifts, for finite, active, and progressive lives with the interbranch roles with the principal child defenders campus, locations on the corners, uses of them involved as victims and as everyone as victims, but then that's why they're forging names, switching names into branch because they need to have to pretend they're not being the ones being told on to. These are crime methods individually. The Wethersfield police are already recorded involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering acts in the past and through time that are tied to them right now, still actively involved with intercities racketeering. Former director of the FBI down, people with the Trade Center. They had roles with both hurting their fellow patriots, killing them, the people, the victims in it, and fake care for them. Force is lying about me behind my back. They had the Dan Keene. I never had a conversation with him in my life. They have a whole bunch of recorded actually natures of database racketeering, Justice Department, Washington D.C., Pentagon racketeering, state police, the Wethersfield police forms overt criminal enterprises roles with two speech class teachers I had, people associated with and the neighbors of some Mr. O'Connor. Now he has a daughter. She'll hate me when I say that. See, these people speaking through other people. He's also involved racketeering. The people with the racketeering uses of Mill Woods involved with UPS and with male families and a Coca-Cola family. People associated with the wrestling industry, involved with all the racketeering that came through CCSU, right through administrations, criminal uses of color still, interbranch, intercultural. We have originally and still certain kind of victim where who everyone is. wherever, especially formal roles. See, they put things like really one of the most things they have with that racketeering method, regardless of our founders put it up. This is a racketeering method that shows how they would use the value itself in relationship to the value of the integrity of science, of the value of Uncle Tom, and in relationship to Harriet Beecher Stowe House, Mark Twain House on Farmington Avenue, associated also with the racketeering with the people recorded and confessed and demonstrated with the former director of the FBI and his lawyer involved with it, and various natures of courts that already use their family members and their courts and their fake perception and fake worlds with faking recorded things, forging names, switching names, and on and off those locations, racketeering with that. Whole bunch of people associated with Park Street, all parts of it, and right down to New Hartford. Also recorded, confessed, demonstrated people involved. How they have criminal uses of each identity of each science, because they're keeping people roles with value nature systems abridged, and everyone making opinions offensively, where perpetually, in other words, they're extortion of anyone who's not going to put money as their reasoning principle. And if anyone has their meat, people, it's right. If you, unless you have your money as your reason principle for defense, and if it's not defense against this, it's exactly what it wants, because you're blaming then other things, others themselves. What is really the answer slash S to why we have Forsaken? It's not money. That's a value nature system sick. If the value nature system wasn't sick, it wouldn't be fathomable, wouldn't be claimed Forsaken. Now that's a certain kind of fake care that's force sustained, and that knew that that would be exploited and how it is. These are other natures of motivations for racketeering for evil, for the same people who are getting desperate people and are getting innocent people forced to, and they're asking them for help, and their roles with the racketeering with the areas already. A whole bunch of men and women doctors with badges too, involved with database racketeering. This is database racketeering method that was since before computers. This ancient republic is a database structure that was revealed by the species working together. These 26 sounds, the sounds of other languages, have an identity of relationship to themselves, individually grouped and together. Everything is in demonstration of this trinity, the inherent, the active, and the progressive, these three natures of volume. See, but we use what is true as always and not denying exceptions. See, we have conspiracy theorists misprising also calling other people conspiracy theorists, also attaching us to fake behavior. Note that. See, they attach me to fake yelling out of context, because I caught them with child offenders, with the Dillon family, also involved with the racketeering uses of Millwoods Park by a whole bunch of people, again through time, with military police, with uses of Trinity College and of CCSU and of UConn criminally. A whole bunch of people tied to my own family, involved foreign and domestic military, involved racketeering with the Wethersfield police chief's family, with New Britain Superior Court, with tons of names. They consciously know that they've just fake recorded, so you can't call, you can't go down there. They'll fake recorded things, they'll forge names, switch names, threaten you. These are natures of gun crime rolls, bug spray crime rolls, sexual abuses of and medical abuses of natures and motivations for roles of women into branch, actually recorded, tied to the sequence shifts. tied to the mandated law, prevented, tied to their fake, they're recorded right now, inherently, actively, and progressively involved with child abuses, involved with a bunch of natures of elderly abuses, whole bunch of victim predator reactions already originally and still maintain self value. Distinctly and non distinctly, each branch recorded and even grouped using motivations and crime methods, actual. Also, what are they going to do? They're going to say, oh, we have the right to lie. Doesn't say, just say you have the right to lie and hide racketeering rules, criminally formed. It's all right. He wants to pretend other this guy who was maybe directed to the guy they referred to as Comey. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of people. Also, racketeering roles and uses of former director of the FBI Robert Luskin and his lawyer and other agencies involved with racketeering with Russians. Uses of Wethersfield town offices, uses of probation officers, uses of they have every spot, and then because they have with every spot as a liar in relationship to what where they had this value nature system originally still it's not about jobs. They have to offensively that you hear them repeating. I don't even want to put the names because words. They want to have pretend like they who cares about what someone thinks? You know what I'm saying? It's all right if someone has an opinion, but I'm not, I'm over here trying to talk about what is actually recorded. We have a whole bunch of racketeering roles and uses of West Hartford, the West Farms Mall. Something associated with that they're trying to duck behind. People with all kinds of aggressions and things like that. These are courts trying to make force aggressions, force where you have to entertain the sensibilities of people involved with them with pretending to record things because they're already involved with sequence racketeering, racketeering uses of the sensibilities of these groups, of their opinion natures in relationship to requests to have countered their roles with it. So if it's all right if you want to have people speak through other people, that's because it was a legitimate sensibilities. But these are people that are attached to criminal uses of them. They don't even realize too. Whole bunch of people tied to the houses in my area that are racketeering with each of the campuses I went to, and then categorically racketeering roles with fake sides acted right before they told. It's not who lies to who they're approaching people with lies. Two lies first, and who lies the worst through criminal foreign influences, which they did. Some people that don't even know their name walk up to me around the corner right at that time. It's a pattern of the people involved with state police on off with the FBI, with a whole bunch of other nations on off Trinity College, on off CCSU, whole bunch of deans with their family members involved with DACA criminally, with stealing my identity. See, these are identity racketeering with their fake sites, self-value jobs that are worthless as the law here and there. Worse than that, worth is about this value system where they have where they're forcing worth to get over on actual worth words and free speech and means and needs for us to counter where areas are only allowing criminally foreign influence racketeering roles with Justice Department, Pentagon racketeering. Now get the goddamn thing. Don't make me fight with the military, with your punks. Get them from the fake identity racketeering. And then don't pretend that being a killer and sacrificing yourself for criminally foreign influence leadership is good because that's recorded. We have where everything's sacred, like the branches of government. We have their identities involved with their criminally foreign influence originally instilled. Look around. New York. Science never spoke for you. It's all right. You want to say what tough is, have an opinion about what tough is. Don't use your opinion to offensively stay in collusion with all those formally preventing mandated law, preventing free speech from demonstrating all the fake lie progression nature will cover up roles, misprision upon those areas, upon them here. And that's tied. That's tied. And that's tied also to them recorded, pretending not to realize by pretending offensively to be positive anyway, by pretending to be against racism. These are sick, high predators. Because of those are forsaken identity, ground, relationship to means, is native pure, is nature's course, the way of things. Buck sings, who'll trade. The species volume longs, right through Fred Gang. Now we also have a whole bunch of medical racketeering involved with locations around Fox Connecticut News. Also involved with this Lena's Pizza place on Park Street. And as people involved with East Hartford, involved with the racketeering along this route that goes by the state judicial branch offices all the way to Cromwell. Also as people involved with Alonza family name and with the Soto family criminally, with the state police and the people with the military, people associated also with Church Street and Old Wethersfield, right where George Washington had to come to meet with the French. Even with the French general, he could only semi-counter extort. Then he had to leave overt slavery. Now these are the corner right there at the corner of, and other houses on the corners on the street recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with the Hanson family. With a Dr. Gilmore, I never had a conversation with. He's involved also with the Leahy family. A whole bunch of men and women involved with child offenders, forging names, switching names, preventing mandated law, pretending things are recorded into databases, with Hartford Hospital, with intercities, racketeering roles and uses of CCSU. Now that goes also right by Old Town Cafe, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved with racketeering with a food bag. And we're in places on off and families on off connected to the Wethersfield Police Department where it is now, where it used to be. Also, as people racketeering roles with the various natures of libraries, all of them, distinctly and non-distinctly criminally, the same ones, involved with vertical or horizontal database racketeering. Also, as the people involved with racketeering, with a with the people associated with golf courses, and with a Mr. Neville, and with a Mr. Potter tied to, and people even on Lincoln recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I'm that I wouldn't use that as evidence, but I don't, because I've never had a conversation with Mr. Potter. I was in his class before. There's also a Chet Casper, and then there's another spelling of Casper, a Caspro. He's also, I never had a conversation with him. He's all that's also recorded. They're involved with racketeering, with military, and with places on and off Fox Connecticut News, with Russians, and with fake news. They attach me and other people that were in the trade center context. Thank God, not in it when the attack, but right before the attack, that were involved with them with further Trade Center Predicate Act clicks, like mail crime rules, wire crime rules, and whole wire crime methods and mail crime methods tied to this Leahy family, also with a whole bunch of other natures of doctors and nurses involved with even sexual offenders and their family members involved with all further drug crimes, uses of untimely death spots, uses of modern body dumping spots, legal and criminal, associated with the Soto family, the Lanza family connections to the people on and off the state judicial branch offices and on and off the state prison offices, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with WFSB, with the Fianza family, with my new and past neighbors, with the Dillon family, and with other police forms, with a Scalora family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering interstates, and with the Trade Center, and she told one of the Saudis they used criminally with the West Farmers Mall clicks, and they'll admit this. I mean, they were just victims of it. They just attached the Saudis to fake because they have fake Versailles rules with it, with a whole bunch of other nations because they've been using on and off the campuses criminally 2 times. There's in other words, a whole bunch of people tied to then if you respect people's passions and emotions, if you respect their time, they hurt you in relationship to what I'm talking about here. In other words, so these are people, in other words, everyone speaking with this Aiello family is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of people on and off Trinity College and a Johnny Duke. And he's involved also with WFSB, other networks with their ad companies, like with this Fianza family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court, uses of their Facebook pages, and racketeering with my new and past neighbors involved with child sex offenders, medical offenders, people that are involved with interbranch family members, uses of their family members. Before they were interbranch, they were involved with racketeering against kids, faked conversations with me, their roles with the faked things into databases and the live progressions from it that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time, has also the kids of police with Rocky Hill involved further with a whole bunch of natures of criminal uses of the parks, and like the one in Wethersfield going right to the heart of Hartford and to the Fox Connecticut News building. Now there's an acting place next to it that is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the acting department and the English department involved with racketeering with the house on the corner of Main Street and Church Street. And the police are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved racketeering roles with them, with the other branches, crime methods with them recording this individually. In other words, individually grouped it together. The Wethersfield police are criminally foreign influence. They've been acting now to hide it. Grouped, same thing with the New Britain Superior Court, other natures of courts and their family members, all victims, but victim predators the same way the overt criminal enterprises were, are recorded even on Facebook. They're lying about the substance of actual evidence on Facebook to pretend they have been pretending to be about behavior, pretending non-premises. As a value, as a main reason and principle. We have pseudo semantics and semantics that needs to be discerned. So they could real quick, they could say, oh well, that was just then we go back and you see the substance of arguments are not. We have no science, we have no news. Not only do we not have the news is involved with the racketeering method, recorded effectively originally and still through time, keeping the identities of each branch trained, not just trained, raised, criminally foreign influenced. Now their narratives, commonly as people that don't even know each other, are in relationship to their value treat their narratives about what economic value is, job value is. Meanwhile, they're recorded consciously, criminally aware that they are involved with a whole bunch of methods and natures of extortion and of identity racketeering and of, for example, fact cheating nature racketeering. And you can't pretend you can't defend that and stand American history told at the same time. So we have passions and emotions, dishonest, only allowed heard, not them attached to their actual value progression. Value. So we need someone to raise their voice, not women. women, and men are in collusion halfway, and that's fake. It's criminally foreign influence, uses of those values as speakers to each other and to others, and that's being exploited because of they have racketeering methods also, not just for economic motivations. They are make it look like that, like the lawyers of divorces and stuff like that. The lawyers with disputes between men and women are involved, used because they're involved with racketeering method that has people pretend fake things with areas so they can pretend to perceive things, having it acted right when they're when they think we don't realize, and when we don't realize they have cameras on things to film things. They're trying to film illusions. That's what they're actually recording, communicating. That's what the people associated with Trinity College that are that use my name in the past. They don't even know me. They tricked me. I was in the presence because not, I never sought them out. And when there's an exception, it was after they did, and not honestly. This is a method too that they're keeping anyone from being able to speak because they're also forging names and switching names and not letting names be known as the people they're pretending to know you with. These are a whole bunch of identity racketeering roles. You use and color your identity racketeering against our species, nature, or volume. So that doesn't mean we just fight for black. If you're just fighting for black or you're just fighting for white, you're a breaching screen tool. We have to fight for what is native. We have to fight for what is native is the species, nature, or volume. What is valued in sequence, individual, grouped, and species, nature, or volume. When that's simultaneously valued, it's in that sequence, individual first. When it's simultaneously valued, really. So we have means to afford things have nothing to do. People would say people wouldn't want to defend themselves with a mega self defeat. The second you take nuclear weapons, now you have to watch say all these safety things. They have to restrict the water instead to what reveals evolution's fruits and gifts. For example, Allah's identity of relationship to itself that reveals fruits and gifts or forces lethal IDs. Per algebra, per the identity of algebra, which is a group. The Quran also wants us to know and to understand that and how we're not supposed to agree on the name of the identity of all things at once. Boxings, you can't bestowance, return the name. Call lost and found, all gather round. So 120. This is a long video. So we need to set up pantheism, which is about the identity that we don't have to. We're not supposed to agree about the name. The identity of value progression that is inseparable from and has the value of all individual grouped and value progressions together at once. Only the extent of it is debatable, but since semi-ancient times, offensively has been debated criminally, debated with fact cheaping nature styles, criminally foreign influenced, and delusions wrought, rather. And worse, we must all rehearse boxing. It tells us things. Boxing was revealed, for example, in relationships to criminal and citizen's nature. We have states and areas criminally foreign influenced. We have people use in relationship. This is conscious criminal uses of the value of what is boy, of the value of what is girl, of the value of what is man, of the value of what is woman, of the value of what is elderly, of the value of what is youth. These are words / values used criminally for other natures of racketeering against with the areas involved with the database racketeering and the lie progressions tied to that, and maintaining it offensively. Vertical and horizontal database racketeering. They know this is what is actually recorded. And this is also recorded how the media is involved with Russians and with other nations, with elections crimes there and here, against whoever wins too. And then they're investing. They're invested right now, pretending to be against such, pretending not to be able to fathom such, when they know it's recorded. It's actually recorded. They know they recorded speaking things into records after others actually recorded and pretending that's evidence. It's evidence, but it's a truth, but it's used as a lie. So it's not what's actually recorded. What's actually recorded is them even worse now. You see what I'm saying? Those aren't truths. Those aren't facts. Those are physical delusions and are criminally foreign influence weapons and breaching screen tools. And worse, we must all rehearse boxings. What do you think was over here with psychology that whole time with our fake justice racketeering with color? Then and now, in relationship to the people stacking, that's only capable of causing negative lineage progressions. Vaccine. You stupid when you say jobs. We stupid when you talk about theater parties. You broke. You fall. Bill Ball. Vaccines. Like they've